Isn't it a conflict of interest that I come in my debut with this series और मैं अपनी ही तारीफ करूंगा? भाई का शो है तो बात तो करनी पड़ेगी. Neeraj Pandey as a storyteller is someone that has created a niche for himself in the genre of geopolitical thrillers. While I believe his filmography has been a hit and a miss over the years, his standout movies still hold the test of time, especially if one were to look at movies like A Wednesday, Special Chabbis and Baby, extending the same conviction in the streaming space with Special Ops. While his created series Khakee The Bihar chapter was rather inconsistent for me, it boasted of one of my favorite performances in the digital space by Avinash Tiwari. Extending the Khaki franchise with a new cast and state of the country, this time we focus on the Bengal chapter, refreshingly with a cast that is well known in the Bengali film industry. Pauli Dam, Swastika Mukherjee, Anirban Bhattacharya and a legend like Sharmila Tagore were only required, and then this could have literally been the Bengali Avengers getting to show their mettle on the global stage. Khaki the Bengal chapter focuses on the assassination of an IPS officer who made it his sole mission to get behind exposing one of the most dreaded gangsters in Kolkata. This assassination leads to a disarray for the political party in power, the puppeteer of the party being Barun Roy, played by Prosenjit Chatterjee. As swift action is required to calm the hostile mob, the party appoints IPS Arjun Maitra, played by Jeet, to clean up the act on the streets of Kolkata. Upon getting such a responsibility, Arjun notices the huge nexus that functions without a trace that involves politicians, businessmen and gangsters, specifically focusing on the influence of Baga, played by Saswata Chatterjee, and his two lieutenants Sagar and Ranjit, played by Ritwik, Bhowmik and Adil Zafar Khan respectively. Several instances of a cat and mouse chase, backstabbing and conspiring forms the basic storyline of this 7-episode series Khaki the Bengal chapter. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the series, directed by Debatma Mandal and Tushar Kanti Ray, so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch it on Netflix or not. The underwhelming aspects: flat cinematography and choppy action. I don't know what exactly has happened with Neeraj Pandey's cinematography, but I almost want to shake him and advise him to get someone to color correct his movies and shows. This is a problem that did not exist in Neeraj Pandey's initial films, and it remains consistent with his filmography since the last few years, is that the frames remain flat, dull and are saturated to the point of looking unnatural. I remember watching Auro Mein Kaha Dam Tha last year and wondering why it looks like a TV serial, and you will have the same sentiment towards a series like Khaki the Bengal chapter. The frames are extremely flat and lack character. It's a shame that the show has authentically tried to shoot in real locations, yet it has the aesthetic of looking so pale. This is heartbreaking because Kolkata has such a charm as a city, and it's entirely lacking in becoming a character of its own through the 7 episodes of this series. One of the most jarring qualities of the series is that its action is extremely pedestrian and choppy. You will see the police conduct many raids, barge into establishments and also engage in hand-to-hand combat, and all of it looks extremely half-baked. When I see the topography that the makers were working with, you've got the iconic narrow lanes through which several of the chase sequences are performed, but never in the slightest do you feel at the edge of your seat. It cuts away to change the POV of characters so many times and showcases so many punches and kicks going through the air versus actually landing that it never truly engages or excites you. Probably the most heartbreaking action sequence from the entire series is the climax for me, which was extremely choppy and it almost seemed to be shot in a rush. The one portion that seemed riveting involves Ritwik Bhowmik's character absolutely going on a blood spree, but the rest of the violence is rather PG and pedestrian. Verbose storytelling and lack of surprises. The case of Hindi cinema spoon-feeding the audience has been often discussed by several actors and creators in interviews, where the point of what one is seeing on camera is to be described as well, just so that you don't miss out. Khaki the Bengal chapter goes above and beyond to make sure that you do not get confused about the case at hand, the characters, their relationship and even their ulterior motives. The series is told through a chronological story being narrated, and the descriptions are followed by the visuals being acted out. And if you missed out on anything, the opposition leader Nibedita, played by Chitrangada Singh, will remind you again of why there is such a discomfort and anger among the people of West Bengal. I don't know whether this has become the memo of writing on streaming, already assuming probably that the viewer is watching the show as ambient noise, essentially doing something else while also watching the show. So whenever they tune in, they won't be left in the dark. But I really felt like the screenplay was over-explaining everything that was being performed in front of me, leaving nothing to the imagination of the audience. The series hugely benefits from exceptional performances that actually paper over these technical cracks. If it honestly wasn't the case of the spectacular cast, we might be looking at a sinking ship over here from a holistic point of view. The good, authenticity, and a long wait for Bengalis. I can't even imagine the sense of pride that Bengalis must be feeling regarding the representation of talent from the Bengali film industry in this show. Actors who have given years to the craft, the state, and the language finally getting national and global attention beyond their state borders. The representation by Hindi cinema beyond Shujit Sarkar films lately have been extremely embarrassing, mostly restricting the Bengali as either a pan-spitting artist or an anti-establishment intellectual. The last few years have been a turbulent journey for the Bengali film industry, where sporadic surprises do exist here and there, but the industry seems to be in a creative flux of sorts largely. You're looking at a state and its people that pride themselves of being the global standard for India when it came to art and literature through several decades of the 20th century. However, one only reminisces and looks back today as those decades being the golden age of Bengali cinema. I would love actually to know all your thoughts, especially Bengalis, regarding the current state of their film industry and why it hasn't soared the same way ever again. To see legends like Prosenjit, Chatterjee and Jeet share screen space together may have been so exciting for Bengali cinema fans, and it just showcases to most of us in India that talent is abundant across state borders. The only thing that is required for those in positions of power is to identify, acknowledge, and put their bets on them. Slow burn, but momentum goes in full swing. I'll be honest regarding my experience of watching this series is that I was slightly getting restless in the first 2 episodes of the series, wondering why the action is so choppy, why the cinematography looks so flat and dull. But what I quickly realized as I invested more time in the series, especially as the 3rd episode goes into full gear and the drama takes center stage, that the makers were categorically establishing the world first as we were familiarized with everyone and their relationship, the ball got rolling. What I find so interesting about the series is that it is set in the late 90s and early 2000s, and one does not really have to make much of an effort to transport us to a different era because Kolkata has still held on to its old world charm with its architecture and layout of the city. Kolkata and its presence is one of the most distinct in our country, and I wish that the makers did more to highlight its unique beauty, something that the likes of Sujoy Ghosh had done so brilliantly while being essentially a riveting thriller like Kahani. So my urge to all of you is be patient with the first 2 episodes because it really gains momentum when the drama unfolds and the new IPS officer played by Jeet takes control. Authentic casting and conviction. And your brother may have put on a lot of muscle and looks like a powerlifter now, but hey, for my debut, you have to say that I did a pretty good job. Just kidding, Mimo Chakrabarti is competent in his role as Himel, and so is his colleague Aratrika, played by Akanksha Singh. Saswata Chatterjee as Baga is extremely effective in his role as the dreaded gangster, making me actually reflect that he is far more cunning and intimidating in this role than what we saw him pull off in Kalki. I mean, he is Bob Biswas, so you know he's got the pure villain in him down to the T. Parambhadra Chattopadhyay as the noble IPS officer willing to do what is morally right is brilliant too. While I personally believe that the weakest writing is associated with Chitrangada Singh, who plays the role of Nibedita, the leader of the opposition, especially regarding her personal relationship, not really extracting any emotion within you, she does as the script demands. The legends of Bengali cinema, both Jeet and Prosenjit Chatterjee, are so exciting to see on camera. Jeet has this undeniable screen presence. When hired for the job, his opening combat sequence just has him strutting through a violent mob, a glimpse like Ramcharan in his introduction scene in RRR, and it just takes him with his towering presence to stand for the mob to part like the Red Sea. He is sharp, is described as having an attention to detail with the scene of the crime, and has no room for small talk and negotiations with outlaws. Prosenjit Chatterjee is cunning as the political leader Barun, using his pawns for his benefit. In one scene where he shows a senior politician his place, you really get to know who is running the show. The way Prosenjit manipulates situations for a larger goal is truly engaging. However, if I were to really tell you who won the show for me, especially regarding their performances, it has to be this young duo. The duo that stole the show for me. Ritwik, Bhowmik and Adil Zafar Khan as Sagar and Ranjit are truly the core of this show. Much like the duo of Guddu and Bablu from Mirzapur, one is calculated and calm, the other is the brawn who thinks impulsively. I was absolutely in awe of the maturity showcased by both the actors. In moments of anguish and loss, both the actors shine. In sequences where they are only consumed by violence, the rage is palpable in their eyes, making me also conclude that while I love these talents, that they're getting opportunities, at least through these streaming platforms, that these are the kind of talents Hindi cinema should lay their bets on because their performances are faultless. The evolution of their relationship and how it shapes the story of Khakee The Bengal chapter really becomes the highlight of the series for me, essentially papering over the technical flaws and becoming an extremely engaging thriller that boasts of some of the best talent from West Bengal especially. This is representation done right. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Khakee The Bengal chapter. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.